Good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Brian Mitchell, your host for the next 10 to 20 minutes. I am part of Trade ALGO proudly. I'm a day trader, which is why you see here when you log in under the live sessions tab where I'm waving my cursor on the left hand side of your screen, you'll see that I host the Day Trade with Brian tab, and that would be this little bugger right here. My computer's being a little quirky. This is a chat where everyone is allowed to, discuss news, share, their thoughts on the market. Unfortunately, not allowed to give trades because newbies or beginners, I want to say that super respectfully, beginners are super excited to make money that they'll jump in on everything and anything. And since I haven't verified every single person's level of skill individually, I can't allow people to post trades because I don't know if you suck or if you're amazing or whatever. So I can't have newbies, unfortunately, uh, you know, pile into a trade hoping, wishing, praying that it works out. So there are a little bit of rules in this chat, like anything else, like any other company you go to, right? You can't just do whatever you want. But my rules are not super, super strict, right? But it's in this chat that I do post trades, all right? You got to be attentive. And part of knowing how I work is this little black button right here. If you click on it, it takes you to some kind of abridged version of the guidelines everyone should follow. But if you click here where it says click to view all rules, it takes you to, well, let me go ahead and log in. I don't know why I'm logged out. It would take you to this document right here, right? Now this is kind of like house rules, housekeeping kind of thing. It does say, what should I do as a beginner in the Day Trade with Brian tab, the one we were just at, right? I would like for people to read, this document 20 times at least, but that's a lot, Brian. I know, but the reason being, let me explain it to you so that, I'm not just being authoritative and just do this, no questions. It's more so because two reasons. The way you remember information and create long-term memories in that lovely brain of yours between your two ears is either a strong emotion that burns that information into your memory, right? If you go to jail for the first time, you'll remember never to break the law in that fashion again. You remember the birth of your child more vividly than just a random night where you're watching TV because of the emotions that were involved, right? Now, trading, and sometimes, unfortunately, we have to lose a lot of money to finally remember to put that stop loss. Now, this is basically learning the hard way, right? So usually not great emotions in trading that we remember. But how do you learn rules without having to go through that stress? Repetition, 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 repetition. How do you memorize somebody's phone number? You repeat the number as many times as necessary until you finally remember the information. And I personally think this is the better way to learn information. Now, why 20 times? That seems like a lot, Brian, because it's called the 10,000 hour rule. It takes about 10,000 hours to master a skill. Now, I don't expect folks to put in 10 to 20,000 hours into mastering trading as I have, as Mr. Confluence has, as the analysts at Trade Algo have. But if it takes you an hour to read this document, it's a fairly big size font. It's not Times New Roman 12, 12 size font. It's pretty big. I'm pretty sure you can get through it in 20, 30 minutes. So if it takes you maybe even a whole hour to read the document, 20 hours is much, much less than 10,000, folks, right? But it's going to teach you some simple rules. But before I get to those rules, I just want to cover them super, super quick. It's worth it to open up this document as well where I'm waving my cursor, this technical analysis Bible. This is I'm going to say this as a caveat, if you want to get good at technical analysis. It's worthwhile to basically, why does this keep happening to me? Apologies, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know why it keeps signing me out and signing me in. I would want to, there's a saying in the neuroscience community, particularly Dr. Joe Dispenza, that says whatever fires in your brain wires in your brain. The neurosynaptic connections that you revisit become stronger in your brain. In other words, information that you repeat and revisit, those are neurons that will be more concrete in your brain. You will recall the information much easier because you've reviewed it recently, right? So I read this one every morning. I know to buy calls at support and I buy puts at resistance. If a stock is not at either, I simply don't trade, right? Why chase the price action just because candles are moving? That's called gambling, right? I try to avoid gambling, and this is a nice reminder as I start my day off with this document every single day. And obviously, sometimes we plow through resistance the first time, but typically I know we have to test a resistance 3, 4, 5, 6 times before we break it. The more we test the resistance, the more we're likely to break it. So I usually know if technicals are working the way they're supposed to. We're not going to just blow through it the first time unless we have, a substantial piece of news where technicals go to crap, right? Technicals work best in a neutral market, and this is rule 4 of the same document, where there's no emotions. But sometimes there's good news, like a good earnings report, and it'll blow through the technicals because of the euphoria and optimism. So good news will push investors into a euphoria and optimism about the company, and that emotion will water down technicals. But similarly, bad news will push us into fear and panic selling, like the tariffs, tariffs, tariffs. He's putting tariffs on this country, tariffs on China, 3,000%. Right? And that negative emotion will water down technicals. So good emotion or bad emotion will just be aware if there's news or something like that, then this document can easily be watered down if not invalidated. But as long as you know the rules pretty well and you know they're working, I would read this document if I were in your shoes, right? I wish somebody gave this to me when I was first starting. Let me go ahead and go back to the original document, the guidelines document. Again, this one can be found when you log into the Trade ALGO platform, live sessions, Day Trade with Brian. You get to this page and click on that blue hyperlink inside that black box after clicking it. Now, there's some pretty simple. I stopped calling them rules because they don't like to be told what to do. There's a kind of, aversion to the word rules. So we call them guidelines. They're a little softer. It's a little nicer. So these are some guidelines for success is what we call them. This is actually the document called the Prescription for Success, in my room at least, right? The most important rule where I see people when they send me their trade journals is position sizing. Sometimes they buy 2 contracts for $25, and sometimes they buy 1 contract for $300. Their position sizes are all over the place. I keep my position size on the trade journal that I actually have on section L, 500 per trade. Now, this is just a demonstration, right? An illustration, just to prove that to keep position sizes the same if you're working with a relatively small account. But you can adjust this however much you like, right? But you should have a set standard position size. That's pretty basic, but it does say this is the most important rule. This is where when people send me their trade journals, they screw up the most. And I say, what are you doing with your, sometimes making your position $50 and other times $180 and sometimes $10 only. That means you're trading more on feelings and less from a disciplined, profitable, proven strategy, in other words. And I'm not offending anybody. It's just objectively that's how it's interpreted, right? I make all my position sizes. I usually say tiny positions because it's a crazy market, and tiny usually means, like it says right here in the trade tracker, tiny means 500, right? You can adjust however you'd like, though. Back to the guidelines document. So I'm going to cover this and then get to how we get to the trades really quick, because that's everyone's main concern. Obviously, goes without saying, no negativity. It spreads like cancer, and we want to be positive. Also, gambling is just entering just because candles are moving. If it were that easy, trust me, everyone would do it, including my own mother, and she's a risk-averse person. But if it were that easy, she would be doing it, right? I don't recommend gambling, especially if you don't know what you're doing. This is a pretty simple one, but if you don't know the guidelines, I always get people that ignore this because they just want to get to the trades, and that's basically trying to cut corners. It says here, I will manually set my stop loss to break even. after a trade goes 20% in profit. So if I get in $100 premium on the contract and it goes to 120, and then it goes down minus 50%, and people ask, "Are we still in?" You are ignoring the rules. You're ignoring. Excuse me. They're not called rules. They're called guidelines. I apologize. You're ignoring the guidelines, guys, and these are to keep us safe, right? I always use the nearest expiration date, but I always have folks. What expiration date, Brian? It takes a lot to type, even at 89 words per minute. I type decently fast, but it just saves me that extra millisecond because price is moving, guys. Seconds matter in the game of options. It actually says here, please understand that seconds matter. But it's only 2 minutes ago that you posted the trade. No. Options are extremely, it says here, guys, options are not only time sensitive, but they're highly leveraged. That is a dangerous combination to just mosey along and just jump in whenever you want to. So don't jump in out of fear of missing out. That's what FOMO stands for. It says here, if my position is already 10% or more from where I entered, leave the trade alone, right? Is the best practice. In my opinion, right? Because I can't give financial advice. In my opinion, if you're chasing, you're just incurring a lot of risk. Maybe you're a risk on person. I don't know, but I wouldn't do that if you're trading responsibly. Just like gambling responsibly, you don't want to bet your house on the next boxing match and who I like the most. No, you want to do it in a sustainable and healthy way, right? A consistent way, in other words. Um, Give me a quick second. Let me try to turn this off. Those dings and beeps. Okay. Also, I don't hold back trades, and people ask me this all the time. Brian, does Apple calls look good? If they did look good, I wouldn't hold it back from you. Why would I hold back from a paying client? That's just not just rude, it's arrogant. It's all sorts of wrong, and I would never do that to you folks. So trying to egg me into getting into a trade is not going to ever work. And when I refer people to the guideline, they usually get mad like I'm throwing it in their face. I'm not. It's just, it demonstrates to me that you have a little bit of homework to do, that's all. And obviously, if you like me to look at a ticker, guys, there's hundreds of you. I can't look at whatever you want to look at. I have to do it with some sort of context, and this is more of a filter, right? If you give me some technicals with, it's breaking out of a bullish wedge on the 15-minute time frame, I'll take a look at it. I can respect, what you're seeing. But if you say, take a look at NVIDIA, I'm not going to do that. If I had hundreds of people doing that, I would have my emotions would be so drained, and I'm still a stupid human, unfortunately, with limited energy and emotions. So, just this is the best way we could all be in sync with another, right? We want to be like a school of fish, all leading at the same time, all flowing together beautifully. But when people try to evade and just give me the trades and I don't want to follow the rules, you're the one bumping into everyone else in the school of fish, right? And we don't want that. Now that you understand that, this is the best way to get in sync with my trades, I want to show you guys something really quick. There's a couple places to find trades, right? And the first one is, what can I expect from the main Telegram alerts channel? And that would be this one right here, right? It says here, and I get questions all the time, this consists more of swing trades where we hold at least overnight, so you can hold for at least, a day or longer. They usually move slower. But if there's no Telegram alerts, folks, it's because there's no opportunities with a high enough risk to reward, because this is a very, 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 very difficult market. I got to remind folks that this is like wanting to learn how to play American football and then just jumping in with professionals from the NFL. You'd be like, I don't want to learn with those guys. They're going to crush me. It's the same thing with the stock market. You're immediately going in with Wall Street, sharks that have been in the market for 30, 40, or 50 years. There is no easy mode to the market, folks. So if there's no Telegram alerts, it's not that we don't want to give you trades, which is the kind of sentiment I feel sometimes that people think we're just holding back. It's more to protect, right? We don't want to lose money in our own personal accounts, but we also don't want you to lose money. Right, so that's why I'm a stickler and want to, follow. I'm gonna lose. It's just it's built into trading, but I'm gonna win more than I lose. All right. So, also it says if there's no updates on a position on Telegram, that means we're still holding, guys. But people want updates every single day. That's not how it works. So we try to update at least once a week. It says here instructions or follow-ups are given it once or twice a week. So if you jump into trades, you're fully expecting, I gotta wait for an update, right? So it's all in this document, folks. This document is designed to answer 99% of your questions in advance. That's how it's designed, right? So it's sad to see people sometimes join the platform, get extremely frustrated, ask the same simple questions that are all addressed in this document, and it could be avoided. That frustration could be totally avoided. And I want you guys to succeed. I want you to be happy while making money. I want so many good things for you. It also explains that if you do go to my chat and you do get trades from here, right? These are more day trades. These are faster trades. These are high risk trades. What's the difference, Brian? Well, there's an official trade, which is all the ones in this document. These are all official. And for the month of July 2025, whoopsie daisy, we are at 182% return, wins and losses, because there's 4 losses here out of 15 trades. So my batting average is about 70% this month. Not the best. I usually hover around 80 to 90%, but like I said, it's been a tough market. You want to make sure that I'm only giving the best of what I got. So an official trade says here, for trades to be official, I need at least 3 things to support a bullish or bearish bias. The more safety nets you have, the better. The trapeze artist is going to feel confident going through the air. But high-risk trades are those that have 2 confluences or less. It would stand to reason, folks, if it has less confluence, there's less confidence in the trade. There's only 1 support. There's only 2 supports. You feel more confident about the ones that have 3, 4, 5 supports, or 4, 5, or 6 resistances, all in the same point, right? So the more confluence, the more confidence. Confidence has nothing to do with emotions, but people still trade with their emotions. The confluence on the chart should tell you everything you need to, right? But people jump into high-risk trades. It says here, they're extremely risky due to their lower confluence. I urge folks that are new not to engage in these. If you do, maybe go smaller, or journal them, or paper trade them, or journal and paper trade them, right? But these are trades where I don't give guidance. You manage these on your own, which makes them even more high risk. If you jump in and you don't know what you're doing, then you're super gambling. You're just tossing the dice. Official trades always have guidance, right? I say I'm getting out of 30% of my position. I'm moving on my stop loss to break even. And it's all answered here, ladies and gentlemen. The official trades will say what position size, when to move a stop loss, what type of position, how big I'm going, how much I'm closing at what specific gain. These are the newbie friendly, the beginner friendly. These are not beginner friendly, but people have this notion where all trades are created equal. I just want to make money, so I'm going to jump into everything. I do not recommend that. Now, the next biggest question I always get is, why aren't all these on Telegram, Brian? Why don't you use the trade board, Brian? And I get that question quite a bit, and it makes sense from your from your side of the fence. But I'm going to show you right here, right now, why that's really not the best idea in the world. Respectfully, I always want to address everyone here with respect and honor them for the awesome, human beings. You're giving me your time, which I'm eternally grateful for that. I think time is one of the greatest gifts you can give a human being because you can't get it back, and you're giving it to me right now. So thank you for that. While I'm looking for this example, here we go. So let me make this bigger for the folks that are, short-sighted, not used metaphorically. I said here at market open, here we go. 9:34, 4 minutes in the market open. Marvel, $70 call. Remember, we use the nearest expiration date on all positions. Nearest expiration date for all trades. It's guideline 5. So I said Marvel 70 call. That's this Friday's expiration date in 2 days. Today is Wednesday. $70 call. I always post the trade first. Then I open my broker. Then I go to the search bar. Then I type it in. Then I go to the options. Then I type the strike price. Then I pick the number of contracts. I always type it in first, and then we all have the same time to get in, right? So get in about a few seconds later, 70%. We're up in 9 seconds. Obviously, Woodman says I got the same. And in just 2 minutes or less, guys, we're up 22%. Imagine if I put that in Telegram. I just finished saying not too long ago in the subsequent rule right after that, Rule 6. Please understand that seconds matter, guys. People think I'm exaggerating or just joking around or being facetious or embellishing. I am not. It is dangerous to jump into trades because, oh, it's just a few seconds. I just want to make a buck. No, the market does not care what you want, right? So if you're 10% or more away from Brian's entry, that means maybe you have to work on speed of entry, which again, or just wait for the next trade, right? So if you saw here, we're up 9%. If you're barely getting in, maybe that's one to let go unless you're one of those people that are very risk tolerant, not risk averse. But out of 22% out of most, usually that means a good 70, 75, 80% of my position. If I bought 10 contracts, I'm out of 7 or 8. And then I give you the little noise, the little cash register noise to put it on your radar. Up 35%. This is still only 2 minutes later. Only in runners, which means the last 10%, maybe 15% of my total original position size. Stop loss at break even. Those are exact instructions. I can't give financial advice, but this is exactly what I'm doing. To the T, to the letter, right? Some people got in a tiny bit late. That's still within 10%. I got in at 70, right? For official trades, I always post the what I get in after again, post it first, then I open my broker so that everyone has the same amount of time. Some people get in for, close. Sometimes people get in better, right? But then this is something classic I do. Put in it could be a rocket emoji, a heart emoji, a prayer emoji for people that made money. And you'll see people, boom, 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 boom. People make money, right? But this is an example of a new member. What is the expiration date? This is when people ask questions and it's clearly addressed in this document, it just shows me that you're just trying to jump into trades without following the rules. Please understand that I worry for you because you're doing it backwards, right? That's like putting on your pants on backwards and then going in the bathroom and having issues. You're gonna have to spend more time taking them off, reversing them, putting them the right way after peeing yourself. It becomes a whole mess, guys. So trust me when I say this, the slow way is the fast way. The fast way that people just try to jump in is the extremely slow way. You're going to make so many mistakes and they're all avoidable. And then when people experience so many losses that they say, Brian, I need your help. I'm struggling. And I say, have you read this document? And they go, no, you don't understand. No, I do understand. Have you read this document? And they say, no. This is here to protect you. I wish somebody gave me this, guys. I know we don't want to do any sort of work. I don't want to do work when I want to make money, but trust me, it's there as a safety net to help us, ladies and gentlemen. But this is just a demonstration. I'm going to show you maybe one more example because, again, trades move extremely fast in here. I think there was one more trade that I gave today that was, no, that was a break-even trade. Here we go. Snow. 212 call. Again, tiny means I'm jumping into my set position size, whatever that is. Usually that's 1%. 1% of the account is tiny. It doesn't mean dollar amount tiny. It means relative to the rest of my account. If I have a $100,000 account, a tiny position is $1,000. That's 1%, right? So it's relative. I don't know what that will mean for you, but as Guideline 1 says, you need a specific size for whatever that four-letter word pops up here. Again, I always type in the price that I get in for, and then 2 minutes later, 14% gain out of 3/4 of my position. If I got 4 contracts, that means that I'm out of 3 of them. If I got 8 contracts, I might be out of 6 of them. If I got 20 contracts, I might be out of 15 of them, right? Stop loss at break even, we're in profit. It makes sense to put stop loss at break even. Now there's a guideline that any trade that goes into 20% or more profit, I'll automatically put the stop loss at break even. But if that's not the case, I will definitely say, I want to be safe here. The market's a little crazy. I'm going to put my stop loss at break even because we're already up a fair decent amount. And let's see here. Put an emoji if you made money on snow. Of course, people are making money because they're on the ball, they're attentive, they got their speed of entry down. 22% gain all out on that last quarter of my original position size. We're up 2 for 2 on the day, guys, but you got to see, I cannot post things in Telegram because of how quickly the trades move. By the time somebody sees them on Telegram, oh, let me just take this work call and let me just, no, guys, I can't stress this enough, and it almost sounds like I'm being, a jerk, but seconds matter. Seconds matter in the game of options. I can't stress that enough, that options are extremely dangerous because they're time sensitive and highly leveraged. Jumping in just half a minute late, just 2 minutes late, that's not how day trading works, especially. So I really want everyone to succeed. I know people that don't know anything about options, that actually, let me see if I could try to find it for you guys, because I found this quite awesome. I asked one of the members who is fairly new, very, very new, um, I see you winning all the time. What's your secret? Like, I know you're not like a master trader. Here we go. I said here at 11:55, Dina, how long have you been trading? Dinah, I'm so sorry for mispronouncing your name, but this was, I asked her 25 minutes ago, how long have you been trading? You're always crushing it. I always see her posting wins. I always see her doing so well. And I said, what do you attribute your success to so others know? This is how she answered. Brian and the rest of the family. We call ourselves a family, if you want to be part of it. And it's spelled Dinah. Sorry, I missed the H. I'm sorry. So I've been trading since April. Guys, it's only July. She hasn't been trading even half a year. I struggled with another community, not having a solid daily process of learning to trade as a newbie. Then I joined Trade ALGO in May, less than 3 months ago. Learned a lot from this group. Yes, I will give daily analysis that you can go back, they'll record it every single day. And I journal. If you're not journaling and documenting, you don't know what you're doing right. You don't know what you're doing wrong. You're just executing. In my book, that's gambling, right? Just hoping, wishing, praying. Let me jump into this trade and hope, wish, and pray. But she's journaling. She sees what she's doing right with my trades. She sees what she's doing wrong with my trades. So I journal in my notebook, write down my trade, a win or a loss, and quickly journal notes. She might have to say, I'm still getting in late. I'm still not respecting my stop losses. And the reason why that journal works is because, again, we go back to page 1. She'll remember the ones that burn her with anger, that burn her with shame, that strong emotion will recreate a memory to not forget that mistake. And the simple act of putting in your journal is repetition. So you're kind of nailing remembering your wrongs and rights in 2 ways. Guys, you're killing 2 birds with 1 stone when you journal. But back to what she was saying, because she said something just so simple and so profound. I thought I'd finish with this. She journals every day, wins or loss, and she started in June. She started journaling in June, guys, less than a month ago, and got better trading. I review your Bible and guidelines document every day. No shocker there. She wants to get better at trading. Staying active, attending the live calls, and starting accepting my stop losses. It's tough for beginners to begin stop losses, so I could focus on other trades. Yeah, if it's a loser, it's a loser. We'll move on, right? Sometimes I have losers. Let's move on. It's a stupid loss. Let's move on. Let's get to the wins, right? Not being greedy, exit sooner, or do as you do, Brian, because you give instructions on what you're doing, and other leaders on when to exit, when to enter. If I see green, I start taking green right away and not being emotional. I trust the leaders, trust the technicals. I'm still a newbie, still learning. I keep my losses to myself in my journal and stay positive. This is someone who is a newbie and just following the rules like white on rice. And she hasn't even been trading that long, but she's following every rule to a T. She is incredible, and I gotta give her the spotlight, because if everyone was doing this, you guys would all be crushing it. You guys would all be excited. You guys would all be posting happy faces like her. And it's not impossible. If a newbie who's been doing this less than 90 days, which is nothing in emotional trading, in a trading career, if she's achieving success this fast, it's not an impossibility for you too as well, because everyone's human. Everyone has the same lovely noodle between their ears called a brain. And my brain, I think, is one of the dumbest out there. And I think a lot of people can pick this up way quicker than I did. You don't have to go through the same newbie mistakes everyone goes to. I hope this comes off as encouraging. I hope you guys understand that, yes, I want to join your next session, Brian. I'm gonna as it says on page 1, I'm going to watch you for a bit because obviously, if I'm brand new, I'm going to try to paper trade until I'm profitable for a couple days. I want to see your speed and rhythm. And yeah, pretty successful couple, once you see the rhythm and speed in my style, it's not difficult. I mean, it's as simple as buying here, selling more here, moving up my stop loss, selling more here, all out. Next. So as long as you don't remain too emotional and you are journaling, you are reading the rules, and you are making some of your own independent research, this can be picked up pretty quickly. And I just want so much for you guys. I know I sound like a broken record, but if it's not on the Telegram, you'll find it in my live sessions. I just thought I should create a video. If you guys have some constructive criticism for me, as always, my feelings don't get hurt easily. So if you could just try not to beat me up too bad. But Brian at tradealgo.com. So Brian, Brian, like November, at the name of the company, the greatest in the world, tradealgo.com. If you guys have questions, or if you want me to make one of these guidelines more unequivocal. It's too ambiguous, Brian. It could mean this. It could mean this. I'm open to everything. All right, guys? So hope this helps. Let me know how I can serve you. Let me know I can help you. Let's crush it the rest of the year. We got half a year left in 2025, and we're all having a grand time. So I hope to see you guys here. And yeah, have a wonderful and blessed rest of the day or evening. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Everyone take care.